When a privileged teenager walks into a convenience store and cruelly mocks a homeless veteran outside, he thinks he's untouchable, but the store owner knows something the boy doesn't. A devastating truth that will shatter everything he believes about himself. What happens next will leave you speechless. Chapter 1. The Golden Boy. The Mercedes pulls up to Martinez's corner store like it owns the street. Maybe it does. Jake Henderson steps out. Designer sneakers hitting pavement that's seen better decades. He's 19, trust fund confident, with the kind of smile that's never known consequence. Outside, against the weathered brick wall, sits a man the world has forgotten. Thomas wears layers of Salvation Army clothes, a faded military jacket bearing patches no one reads anymore. His hands shake, not from the cold November air, but from something deeper, something that lives in the bones. Jake sees him. Of course he sees him. Everyone sees the homeless. They just choose not to look. Rough day at the office? Jake's voice carries performative cruelty for an audience of nobody. He laughs at his own joke. Thomas doesn't respond. He's staring at something in his hands. A photograph, edges soft from 1,000 touches. Jake enters the store. The bell chimes. Inside, fluorescent lights hum their monotonous song. Behind the counter stands Mr. Martinez, 60 years old, silver-haired, with eyes that have witnessed things Jake's generation streams for entertainment. Pack of gum, Jake announces, not asks. He's already on his phone, volume deliberately loud. Yeah, Mom, I'm just stopping at some random store in the poor part of town. Needed gas. Thomas shifts outside. Through the window, his profile tells a story Jake has never bothered to read. The military precision in how he folds his cardboard sign. The way he nods respectfully at every person who passes, even those who look through him like he's glass. Some people just can't get their lives together, you know? Jake continues into his phone. His voice rises. He wants to be heard. Like that guy outside, probably spent his whole life making bad choices. Martinez's hand pauses over the register. His jaw tightens, releases. He says nothing. Not yet. Jake pockets the gum without paying, dropping a 20 on the counter like he's doing Martinez a favor. Keep the change. Buy yourself something nice. The condescension drips like poison. Chapter 2. The Performance of Cruelty. Jake should leave. The transaction is complete. But cruelty, he's learned, is more satisfying with witnesses. He lingers near the window, pretending to check his phone. Outside, Thomas carefully folds the photograph back into his jacket pocket, the gesture of someone protecting the last precious thing in a world that's taken everything else. You know what's crazy? Jake addresses Martinez, though the old man hasn't invited conversation. We're the same species, me and that guy out there, like, biologically the same, but look at the difference. I'm going to Yale next semester, full ride. Well, my dad's paying, but same thing, and he's... What? Begging for change? Martinez slowly places both hands on the counter. His knuckles are white. You know nothing about that man. I know enough. Jake smirks. I know he's out there and I'm in here. That's the only math that matters. A customer enters, an elderly woman with kind eyes. She glances at Thomas through the window, then at Martinez. Some unspoken understanding passes between them. She purchases bread and milk, leaves quietly. The silence she abandons is heavier than the one she interrupted. Jake pulls out his wallet, Italian leather, a graduation gift. He removes several quarters, examining them with theatrical interest. Then, with the exaggerated movements of someone who knows he's being watched, he steps outside. The cold hits him, but only physically. Emotionally, Jake is insulated by privilege thick as winter coats. Hey, he stands over Thomas. Up close, the man looks older than Jake first thought. Weathered, broken in ways that don't heal. You look like you could use this more than me. Jake drops the quarters. They clatter on the pavement, rolling, some finding their way into the gutter. Thomas doesn't reach for them. He stares straight ahead, jaw clenched, hands trembling harder now. What, too proud to pick up free money? Jake laughs. No wonder you're out here. Thomas finally looks up. His eyes, God, his eyes are the color of storms that destroy everything beautiful. There's something in them Jake doesn't recognize because he's never experienced it himself. The weight of survival, of sacrifice, of choosing to live when living hurts. Go inside, son, Thomas says quietly. His voice is rough, underused. Just go inside. But Jake isn't done. Maybe buy some soap with that. You know, make yourself presentable. That's probably why you can't get a job. Ever think of that? Thomas closes his eyes. A single tear traces the geography of his weathered face. Jake returns to the store, victorious in a war nobody wanted to fight. Chapter 3. The Keeper of Secrets. Martinez hasn't moved. He stands behind the counter like a sentinel, like someone guarding something more valuable than lottery tickets and cheap wine. "Feel good about yourself?" Martinez asks. His voice is quiet, dangerous in its calm. Jake shrugs. "I'm not the one sitting on a sidewalk." "No." Martinez nods slowly. "No, you're not. You want to know what you are, Jake?" The use of his name stops Jake cold. "How do you know my name?" "I know a lot of things." Martinez reaches beneath the counter. For a moment, Jake's privilege-insulated brain entertains the absurd possibility of danger. But Martinez doesn't pull out a weapon. He pulls out a box. Weathered cardboard, corners reinforced with tape gone yellow with age. "Sit down," Martinez says. It's not a request. Something in his tone, something ancient and immovable, makes Jake obey. There's a small stool near the counter. Jake sits. He feels, for the first time in this entire encounter, uncertain. Martinez places the box on the counter between them. Doesn't open it yet. Outside, through the window, Thomas remains motionless against the wall. The photograph is back in his hands. He traces its edges like reading Braille, like touching a face he can no longer hold. "That man out there," Martinez begins, "has a name, Thomas Henderson. Mean anything to you?" Jake's face reveals nothing. Henderson is his last name too, but it's common enough. Coincidence. "He wasn't always out there," Martinez continues. 15 years ago, Thomas Henderson was a decorated Marine. 3 tours in Iraq. Sergeant, Force Recon. You know what Force Recon does? Jake says nothing. His throat feels tight. They're the first ones in, the ones who go where it's darkest so others don't have to. Martinez opens the box. Inside, Jake sees photographs, medals, newspaper clippings. The images are of a different man, younger, stronger, wearing dress blues with a chest full of commendations. But the eyes are the same. August 2008, Fallujah. Thomas's unit was ambushed. IED took out their lead vehicle. Insurgents closed in from 3 sides. He was hit. Shrapnel through his leg, shoulder. But he didn't retreat. He went back. Pulled out 16 men from that kill zone. 16 men who are alive today because Thomas Henderson decided their lives mattered more than his own safety. Martinez slides a photograph across the counter. Young Thomas in dress uniform, receiving a medal. The caption reads, "Local hero receives Bronze Star for valor." Jake's hands are shaking now. He doesn't know why. Chapter 4. The Unraveling. He came home different, Martinez says. They all do. But Thomas, what he saw, what he had to do to save those men, it lived in him. Grew like something malignant. PTSD, they called it. But that's just letters. The reality was nightmares that never ended, panic attacks that felt like dying, the constant weight of surviving when others didn't. Martinez pulls out more photographs. Thomas with a woman. Beautiful, laughing. A wedding photo. Then another. The woman holding a baby, Thomas beside her in civilian clothes, trying to smile but the war still visible in his eyes. He tried, Martinez continues. God knows he tried. But the VA was overwhelmed. The therapy waiting lists were months long. The medications made him feel like a ghost. He started drinking to sleep, just to get one night without watching his friends die on repeat. Jake wants to leave. His legs won't obey. His wife, Jennifer, she tried too. But how do you fight an enemy you can't see? How do you love someone who left part of himself in a desert 8,000 miles away? Martinez's voice cracks. This isn't just a story he's telling. This is grief, old and intimate. She left, took their son. Thomas had been having an episode, bad one, scared the boy. She filed for divorce, got full custody. The judge saw a veteran with PTSD and untreated trauma, saw a risk. Thomas lost everything in that courtroom. His wife, his child, his purpose. Outside, Thomas folds the photograph again, tucks it away like putting a heart back in a chest. He set up a trust fund, Martinez says, before he completely unraveled, made sure his son would never want for anything. Every penny from his disability, his savings, everything, it went into an account for the boy. Thomas lived on nothing so his son could have everything. The fluorescent lights buzz. The sound feels too loud, filling spaces where words should be. The boy never knew. His mother remarried. Good man, wealthy man. The boy took the stepfather's lifestyle as his birthright. Grew up thinking the money was just there. That success was something you inherited, not something you bled for. Jake's vision blurs. The edges of the world grow soft. Thomas ended up on the streets 5 years ago. Lost his apartment when the VA benefits got tangled in bureaucracy. Lost his hope when the nightmares won. But he never stopped checking on his son. Never stopped trying to see him from a distance just to know he was okay. Martinez pulls out one final photograph. Recent, printed from a cell phone. It shows Jake, taken from across the street, zoomed in, slightly blurry. Jake walking out of a restaurant, laughing with friends, not a care in his expensive world. He takes pictures sometimes, Martinez says softly, just to remember what his sacrifice bought, to remind himself why he keeps breathing when everything hurts. Chapter 5. The mirror shatters. Jake stares at the photograph of himself. His mouth opens. No sound emerges. Thomas comes by every few weeks, Martinez continues. We served together. Different units, but we crossed paths in Fallujah. I was there the day he pulled those men out, watched him run back into hell like it was nothing. Martinez's eyes are wet now. He showed me pictures of his son once, years ago, when the boy was little. Talked about how he hoped his son would never know war, never know what it's like to choose between terrible options. Jake's hands grip the counter. The world tilts. He kept track of you through social media, through your mother's posts. Watched you grow up through photographs he wasn't allowed to be in. Watched you become... well, he watched you become who you are. The truth sits between them like something living, breathing, impossible to ignore. That man outside, Martinez says, each word measured, deliberate. The one you just mocked, the one whose pain you use for entertainment, that man is Thomas Henderson, your father, your biological father, the man who gave you everything by losing everything. The floor drops away. Jake's reality fractures. The trust fund that paid for your car, your clothes, your Yale acceptance, that came from a veteran's disability check, from a man who chose sleeping in doorways so you could sleep in comfort, who chose hunger so you could have abundance. Jake stands so fast the stool clatters backward. No, that's... my dad is David. David Henderson. He is your stepfather, a good man who raised you. But your blood, your existence, that came from the man you just told to buy soap. Jake stumbles toward the door. His perfect world is collapsing, each revelation another support beam crashing down. Wait, Martinez's voice stops him. You need to understand something. Thomas knows who you are. He recognized you the moment you stepped out of that car. He heard every word you said. And do you know what he did? Nothing. Because he believes he deserves it. Believes his failure as a father means he deserves your contempt. Jake's breath comes in gasps. Panic attack. His first. Now he knows what they feel like. He watches you live the life he bought with his suffering, and he feels grateful. Grateful that you turned out clean, successful, unburdened by his demons. That's love, Jake. That's what sacrifice looks like when it's real. Chapter 6. The Weight of Truth. Jake pushes through the door. The cold hits different now, not as weather, but as the external manifestation of internal collapse. Thomas is still there, against the wall. The photograph in his hands again. Jake sees it now. Sees everything he was blind to before. The military precision in Thomas's posture despite the tremors. The way he keeps his space clean, orderly, holding on to dignity when the world insists he has none. The patches on his jacket, not random but earned, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Marine Corps emblem, the medals of a hero wearing the uniform of the forgotten. Jake's legs move without permission. He crosses the space between them, 10 feet that might as well be an ocean. Thomas doesn't look up. He knows someone is standing there, but he's learned not to expect kindness, so he asks for nothing. Can I? Jake's voice breaks. Can I see the picture? Thomas's hands stop trembling. He looks up, sees Jake, really sees him, and in his eyes is such complex emotion that Jake nearly turns away from the intensity of it. Love, shame, pride, grief, hope, resignation. Slowly, Thomas extends the photograph. Jake takes it. His hands are shaking worse than Thomas's now. The image is worn soft, like something held too long, treasured too much. It shows a baby, maybe 6 months old, laughing, chubby hands reaching toward the camera. On the back, in faded ink. Jake, 6 months, October 2005, my reason for everything. Jake's knees give out. He sinks to the pavement beside Thomas. The cold concrete feels appropriate. He deserves worse. You knew? Jake whispers. This whole time you knew it was me. Thomas nods slowly. His voice, when it comes, is broken glass wrapped in velvet. I know everything about you. Your favorite color changed from blue to green when you were 8. You broke your arm skateboarding when you were 12. You got accepted to Yale with a 4.2 GPA. You're afraid of thunderstorms, but you'd never admit it. His voice cracks. You're everything I hoped you'd be. I mocked you. Jake can barely breathe. I treated you like garbage. You didn't know? That doesn't matter. Jake's voice rises, drawing looks from passing strangers. That makes it worse. I saw a veteran, a homeless veteran, and I thought I had the right to... He can't finish. Sobs take the words. Thomas does something then that rewrites Jake's understanding of human capacity for grace. He puts his arm around Jake's shoulders. The jacket smells of streets and survival, but beneath it is something else. Old Spice, faded but present. The same cologne Jake's baby photos show on a bathroom counter. The same scent Jake's earliest, foggiest memories associate with safety. I made choices, Thomas says quietly. Choices that led here. But every single one of them was worth it because you got to have a life without my darkness. Your mother gave you that. David gave you that. I gave you money. That was all I had left to give. They sit there as the sun sinks lower, as the world continues around them, oblivious to the miracle of recognition happening on a sidewalk outside a convenience store in the forgotten part of town. Inside, Martinez watches through the window. He's crying too. Some stories don't have neat endings. Some don't have endings at all. But this moment, this crack in the walls Jake built, this possibility of connection, it's enough. For now, it's enough. Jake reaches into his pocket, pulls out his phone. His fingers hesitate over the screen, then dial. Mom? His voice is unsteady. I need to know something about my real dad, about Thomas Henderson. I need to know everything, and Mom, I found him. Thomas's breath catches. His hand on Jake's shoulder tightens. Not much, just enough to ask a question without words. Is this real? Can I hope? Jake leans into his father's shoulder, the gesture of a child seeking comfort, stripped of all the armor privilege built. I'm so sorry, Jake whispers. I'm so sorry. You're here now, Thomas manages. That's what matters. You're here. The photograph rests between them. The baby Jake was, the man he's becoming, the father who never stopped loving him through all the years of absence and silence. Martinez steps outside, holding 2 cups of coffee. Hot, black, simple. He hands one to Thomas, one to Jake, says nothing. Some moments don't need narration. Jake wraps his hands around the warmth, looks at the man beside him, his father, a stranger, a hero, a cautionary tale, a testament to survival, a living reminder that every person carries stories we never bother to read. What now? Jake asks. Thomas stares at his coffee. Steam rises like prayers. I don't know. I don't have anything to offer you except... Stop. Jake's voice is firm. That's where we start. You stop thinking you owe me anything. You gave me everything. Now it's my turn. We figure this out together, okay? Thomas looks at his son. Really looks. Sees not the boy he couldn't raise, but the man who chose to stay on this cold sidewalk instead of running from an uncomfortable truth. Pride flickers in his storm-colored eyes. Okay, Thomas says. Together. The word hangs in the November air. Together. The opposite of everything Thomas has been for 15 years. The possibility of something neither of them expected to find on this ordinary, extraordinary day. Jake pulls out his phone again, takes a picture of them sitting side by side against the wall, coffee cups in hand, winter sun casting long shadows. He studies it, then shows Thomas. Is this okay? Jake asks. Can I keep this? Thomas's response is a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. You asked permission. You asked... He can't finish. They sit until the coffee goes cold. Sit until the sun touches the horizon. Sit until Jake's expensive world and Thomas's forgotten one occupy the same space, the same breath, the same impossible moment of grace. Martinez locks the store, joins them on the sidewalk. 3 men, 3 different wars survived, 3 different paths to this single point of intersection. There's a VA center 3 blocks from here, Martinez says. Good people. I know the director. Thomas, we can get you back on the list for housing, therapy. Jake, your father's going to need an advocate in the system, someone who knows how to fight bureaucracy. Jake nods. I can do that. I'll do whatever it takes. Thomas looks between them, his old friend, his found son, and for the first time in years, the weight pressing on his chest lifts. Not completely. Trauma doesn't heal in an afternoon, but enough to breathe, enough to believe that maybe, possibly, the story isn't over yet. Thank you, Thomas whispers. Thank you for not walking away. Walking away was the old Jake, Jake says. I don't want to be him anymore. His voice steadies. I want to learn who you are. Who you really are. Not the version I invented to make myself feel superior. The real you. Thomas nods, extends his hand. Not the photograph this time, but something more valuable. An offered connection, a chance, a doorway to possibility. Jake takes his father's hand, holds it, and in that grip, rough palm against soft survivor against inheritor, father against son, the first page of a new chapter turns. The story of how Jake Henderson learned that privilege isn't knowing you have everything, it's finally understanding what everything cost.